Fear and anxiety in Afghanistan. People in Kabul speak out days after one of the worst bombings in the city killed 90 people and injured hundreds more. So what can the government do to stop attacks like these and reassure its citizens? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Hazem Sika. Afghanistan has been in conflict for decades, but what happened on Wednesday has shocked many around the world. A powerful bomb hidden inside a sewage truck exploding in the heart of the capital Kabul's fortified diplomatic district, killing at least 90 people and causing immense damage. Well, Afghan intelligence is now blaming the Taliban-affiliated HAQQANI armed group and Pakistan for the attack. It is yet another turn in relations between Afghanistan and its neighbour. The two countries have repeatedly exchanged accusations of supporting armed groups who operate across the border. Well, just one day after the bomb destroyed shops and embassy windows, including the presidential palace, people were on the streets cleaning up shattered glass and trying to make sense of what happened. Despite a late-night message from President Ashraf Ghani condemning the attack, many Afghans have been expressing their outrage at politicians.
We ask our leaders to ensure security in the country, or if they are not able, we say they must resign. There should be someone who serves the country. Right now, thousands of our people are mourning. Why and how much longer should we suffer from this current situation?
What's happening in this country? It's not 1 or 2 days or even a year that we've been experiencing such incidents. These insufficient leaders have destroyed our people. Our people leave their houses to find a loaf of bread for their children, but later in the evening, their dead bodies are transferred back to their families.
As we mentioned earlier, Afghan officials are blaming the HAQQANI network for the attack in Kabul. So let's take a closer look at this group. It is an Afghan armed group affiliated with the Taliban. Its leader, Sirajuddin HAQQANI, and it has a stronghold in Pakistan's northern Waziristan region along the Afghan border. The HAQQANI network was part of the armed groups fighting Soviet troops in the 1980s. During that war, the group was backed by the CIA and is believed to have strong ties with Pakistan's security establishment. A number of high-profile attacks have been attributed to the armed group, including the 2008 Indian embassy bombing and the 2011 attack on the U.S. embassy in Kabul. In 2012, the U.S. designated the network as a terrorist group. So let's bring in our guests now. In Islamabad, we have Hassan Khan, security and political analyst. Joining us from Kabul is Mushtaq Rahim, a specialist on regional security. And in New York, joining us via Skype, Barnett Rubin, associate director of the Center on International Cooperation. Barnett is also director of the Afghanistan-Pakistan regional program. Good to have you all with us, gentlemen. So, Mushtaq Rahim, let me start with you then. The Afghan government is saying that this is coming from the HAQQANI network and from the Pakistan security establishment. Is that what you believe?
Well, even in the past, we have experienced some of these sophisticated attacks orchestrated by the HAQQANI network. So, and yesterday's attack was one of the most complicated ones. So, the complication and the type of the attack makes one believe the narrative being put forward by the government of Afghanistan. Yet, unlike in the past, no group has yet taken the responsibility for the attack. But the nature of the attack shows that this could be planned and designed by HAQQANI network. So the nature shows that. In addition, the NDS did have some intelligence on possibility of this attack. And some of the evidence put forward shows that the German embassy and some of the other embassies were aware that something was going to happen. So there was some sort of intelligence information. So given the evidences that come in the aftermath of the attack, one feels to believe that this could be something planned by HAQQANI network.
Hassan Khan, this is not the first time that we've heard the Afghan government blame people in Pakistan for this. And likewise, the Pakistani government has blamed the Afghan government in the past for attacks along their border region. What is your take on this? Who do you believe was behind this, and what purpose does it serve?
Thank you very much. I think this is now turned out to be a culture in Afghanistan that such like high-profile attacks that happen, whether it was in Mazar Sharif, whether it is in Kabul now, or the earlier, in the 2nd of May, when foreign troops were attacked in the high-secured area in Kabul. I think they squarely blame each and everything for Pakistan. One thing I want to say that following the highly, I think, marked operation, Zarb-e-Azb operation in North Waziristan Agency, most of the militant groups, whether they were foreigners, whether they were locals, they have been either killed or either flushed out because the Afghanistan didn't respond when in 2014 the Pakistani government requested that we are launching an operation in North Waziristan Agency and you must have a sort of wall so that the militants didn't flow to the Afghan side of the border, and mostly the militants, whether they are Haqqanis or the other group, no doubt they have gone to Afghanistan fleeing the military operation in Pakistan. I think what my friend Amy has said, look, this is not the possibility that who has, I think it is a need of, it must be investigated on scientific lines. Surgical analysis is needed. Whether the major attack happened in Mazar Sharif or this one, this is not an ordinary attack. 90 people have been killed. Right? 400 people have been injured. So I think this is the heaviest of attack happened since 2001 in Kabul. So this is the responsibility of both the international forces and the Kabul regime that instead of squarely blaming anyone else, they should look into their own affairs. They should look into their own security lapses, whether it was a security lapse, whether somebody else come from across the border and they reached a highly secured region. As my friend said, it is a vicinity where the presidential palace is located, where most of the embassies, whether it's American embassy, Iranian embassy, UAE embassy, the German embassy, they are all, look, even the defense ministry, all these important buildings are located in this vicinity. So I think this is a high security breach. The Afghan government, instead of blaming ABC, I think they should look into their own affairs. They should investigate it in scientific line, and must, I think, if there are any links with the militants from Pakistan across the border, I think the Pakistani government must be shared the intelligence, the information, or the evidences. I think it should, instead of getting into blame game, it is the responsibility of Kabul and Islamabad too, that if somebody else from Pakistan is involved, it must be fixed, the responsibility must be fixed, instead of going for just blame game.
Barnett, Rubin, what does this attack and the government's reaction to it tell us? Is this about the Afghan government simply trying to shift the blame for their own failures?
Well, let's pull back and put it in some perspective.
I think Pakistan government...
First of all, we don't know what the target of this attack was, because the police stopped the vehicle before it could enter into the diplomatic district, where undoubtedly it was aimed at some attack, at some target. And I think that the fact that it didn't reach its target is what is a possible explanation why no one has claimed responsibility for it, because all it did was kill a lot of innocent people who were on their way to work or on their way to school, and it didn't convey any kind of clear message. Now, as far as who is responsible for it, as usual, one can find many who are responsible. If you want to say the United States made a lot of mistakes in Afghanistan, yes, we did. If you want to say that the Afghan government is very ineffective and didn't secure the area effectively, yes, you are right. And that is what many very angry Afghans are saying, like the man that you interviewed earlier. And I've heard it myself from them since yesterday. But it is also true that the HAQQANI network is really very closely entwined with the intelligence agency in Pakistan. And despite what Mr. Hassan Khan said, the HAQQANI network was not pushed out of Pakistan or destroyed in Zarb-e-Azb. The HAQQANI network was relocated from North Waziristan to Khurram Agency, a move which had been underway for several years, actually. And it is still operating safely from its Pakistani safe haven. Now, it is only a very small part of the Pakistani military and intelligence establishment that actually even knows about this or can do anything about it. Mr. Hassan Khan does not have access to any information about it. The government of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif doesn't have access to information about it and can't really do anything about it. But it is a fact that they are operating from there. Now, what's absent right now is tensions have been escalating between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and at the same time, the United States government is making a decision about whether to send more troops and recommit to Afghanistan right after a NATO meeting, by the way, where there were more tensions between the U.S. and the other members of NATO. So I would guess that this was aimed at exacerbating Afghanistan-Pakistan relations, at trying to tell the United States that there's no point in sending more troops, and it also is sending a message to the European members of NATO: you do not want to be involved in this horrible situation that the United States is trying to drag you into. But all of us have to cooperate, and that means addressing all of those issues, but that Pakistan must also treat the HAQQANI network the way it treated the other militants, which it has not done.
Well, you bring up a number of issues there that we can get into a little bit more now, and I'll put some of that to Mushtaq. Rahim, what effect, regardless of who may have been behind it, what effect does this attack have, not just on the government in Kabul and its security apparatus, but on the public's confidence in the government to protect them?
Well, it has damaged the confidence of the public, and there have been uproar among the local Afghans in the city and around the country. And there are questions being asked from the government, and the government is being asked to take serious actions in regard to tackling and maintaining the security situation and controlling the situation. So the questions are raised, but then the government is, while they're looking at possibilities of reforming the security sector, we all know that intelligence warfare engages so many complicated means of attacking their targets. So even if actions are taken, state-backed groups can still infiltrate. So this will not be the last time, and if the support for the groups like HAQQANI continue, they may take different other routes using intelligence support of the neighboring countries. And as was said by Hassan Khan, that the North Waziristan operation was taken Zarb-e-Azab. We all know that Mr. Sartaj Aziz did say that there are good Taliban and bad Taliban, and we have found out over the course of recent years that HAQQANI group falls within the domain of those good Taliban. So even if the government of Afghanistan beefs up the security and reforms the situation, the security sector here, we expect that more sophisticated and different approaches will be taken to attack targets in Kabul and in the rest of the
pick up on what you said earlier. Define for us what is good Taliban and bad Taliban. What do you mean by that?
You know, Mr. Sartaj Aziz, in one of his interviews with BBC, said that he classified Taliban in two groups. One is the bad Taliban, and when he was asked what do you mean by bad Taliban, he meant that the Taliban that harms the interest of the government of Pakistan and the Pakistani nation, and the ones who are operating against other nations and other countries, they fall within the domain of good Taliban for them, because they are not after their interest and they are not after harming them, but others outside their boundaries and their country.
All right, Hassan Khan, the fact that this happened not in a far-off provincial town, but in the heart of the capital, in what was supposed to be a heavily secured diplomatic area, what does that tell us about this and the whole sense of security, not just in Afghanistan as a whole, but in the capital?
Look, I think instead of just burying the fact under the hatchet, look, Afghanistan security situation is very much, I think, it's very much weak. Already we have international reports like Sika saying that 35 to 45% of the area is not in the government's control. It is in the hands of the insurgents, and the insurgents' influence is growing day by day. They have hugely infiltrated the government bodies, including the security establishment, including the intelligence establishment, including the police. So I think this is the time to honestly think over it, that one, the militants, instead of coming from Pakistan, they have more secure zone inside Taliban, which according to the international reports, it is 35 to 45%. So one is there. Two, if there are intelligence reports that the militants have infiltrated each and every department, whether it is the government department, whether it is the intelligence department, whether it is the military, I think we have to look into it. This is a big challenge, and no doubt at the moment when the Afghan military and intelligence agencies, they are lacking the vital what we call strategic leadership at the moment. So I think it's the time to work on it and coordinate whether Pakistan help, I think assistance is needed. It must be approached. Look, recently Pakistan has sent the top general, the chief of general staff to Kabul. He was followed by the head of the intelligence agency ISI, and that was followed by the highest level parliamentary delegation led by the Pakistan National Assembly Speaker Ayaz Sadiq. Pakistan has honestly tried its level best to mend its relation with the Afghan government, but unfortunately the response from the other side is that, okay, if there is an attack and you believe that somebody has crossed the border from Pakistan, or somebody has given instruction from across the border, I think these intelligence must be shared with the Pakistan government directly, or if not, look, the United States is there, and the United States, I think, it is a superpower. It's not the fact that Pakistan is so big and so powerful that it can deceive the US also. I think we have to look into holistically to the whole situation, that Mazar Sharif in the far north of Afghanistan, where the Taliban attacked, I think it was the biggest attack, or close to 150 troops were killed, and that was very unfortunate. On the 1st of Ramadan, they had the host in the east of Afghanistan. Now today, on the 3rd of Ramadan, they had the highly secure zone in Kabul. It means that Taliban or the insurgents, whether it is a HAQQANI, whosoever is a terrorist, the terrorists have a free day across Afghanistan. They are hitting very easily the north, they are hitting the center, they are hitting the east, they are hitting the south. So I think Pakistan is not that powerful a country which have access to each part of the country. So I think we need to look into the whole situation. There need to be, as I said, surgical analysis is needed. Whether it's a fault in the Afghan intelligence, whether it's a fault in the international community, or whether it's a fault of the military intelligence or the Pakistan, it must be fixed.
Barnett, Rubin, there is this ongoing debate in the US right now as to whether more troops should be added to the fight in Afghanistan, or whether they need to draw down. What effect does this attack have? Whose argument is it going to strengthen?
I don't think it will shift the balance. Everyone will look at this attack and say that it provides support for whatever they already believe. That is, for those who believe that there should be more, that we should send more troops to train the Afghan security forces, they will say this shows that they still have some weaknesses, serious weaknesses, and we need to do that, and we need to strengthen our position so we can put more pressure on Pakistan. For those who don't believe that that's likely to be productive, they will say, look, after all this time and money and lives and blood that we have spent, still these problems are going on, so why should we send good money after bad? So I don't think it will be very decisive.
Mushtaq, Rahim, what effect does this attack have on all of the other issues in Afghanistan right now that are being addressed? The economic development, building of infrastructure, and so on, because it all starts with security. If people don't feel secure, then that has an effect on everything else that's going on in the country.
Well, for sure, it's going to impact all other aspects of the development in Afghanistan. And that is the sole reason behind planning and orchestrating and conducting such attacks, to demoralize those who are looking to contribute to the development of the country. And the effort is to make sure that the government control is challenged, and it is shown to those who want to invest and who want to contribute to the economy and development of the country that this government is not going to sustain the pressure that they're putting forward. So it's definitely affecting it, and there are concerns that it's going to really challenge the progress of the country. But then the Afghan government has been able to really convince the world and the nation that it is beyond the Afghan context, and the proxies which are being supported from beyond the borders are causing this whole situation. So the international community that is looking to contribute towards the stabilization and peace in Afghanistan, they are being asked to take action against those who are supporting proxies in Afghanistan. Mr. Hassan Khan said that some of the delegations came and they wanted to contribute. But let me remind everyone that the President ASHRAF Ghani chose to go to GHQ instead of anywhere else as soon as he took the office, in order to convince his Pakistani neighbors that he wants to work with them. Even before that, during the epoch of President Karzai, lists of those terrorists based in Pakistan were provided with full details of those, but no actions were taken. And that has been the sole reason that the government has now started taking drastic actions in terms of taking position against its neighbors. So coming back to the question, I tell you, it has an impact on the people of Afghanistan. But interesting thing that has emerged after the recent terrorist attacks in the country, that it has bonded and it has brought people of Afghanistan together. It has created an opportunity for the nation that was previously not together, to gel together and stand up to face the challenge that is being posed by the terrorism.
Let's get Hassan Khan.
I see it in a sense that it is creating a situation.
Let's get Hassan Khan's response to some of that. And I want to ask you as well, Hassan, I know you said earlier you think there needs to be this holistic approach and better intelligence sharing between Pakistan and Afghanistan. But what about the whole issue of the foreign troop presence, the NATO coalition there? Does that need to be stepped up or to be drawn down? Where does that fit into all of this?
I think first this is up to the Afghan government, and definitely the international, the American troops and the NATO troops which are already stationed in Afghanistan. I think the situation in Afghanistan is deteriorating day by day, and definitely the Afghan needs more troops, more international support, both security-wise and financially. I think they need further stabilization. It is very unfortunate that since 2014, when the international troops have left Afghanistan, most of the international troops left Afghanistan, the security situation has gone down, and day by day it is deteriorating further. And you see the certain attacks which are, I think, considered to be the biggest attacks, whether it was Mazar attack, whether it's in Kabul, whether it's elsewhere in Host, I think. So definitely I also is one of those who believe that Afghanistan still need international support. And one thing I think, one more point, I think this is the time that Pakistan and Afghanistan must sit together instead of putting blame on each other, because Pakistan also suffered as Afghanistan suffered. Pakistan policy, I think, turned around after 16 August 2014, when the terrorists attacked a school and they butchered kids, school students. So I think that was the time when the Pakistani security and the political establishment sat together and they decided that we have to go after them. And Zarb-e-Azb was launched, Raddul Fasad was launched. So this is the time, I think, the Afghan government first, the Afghan intelligentsia, the political leadership, the religious scholars, the Mujahideen, whosoever they are, they must sit together at this moment.
Barnett, Rubin, I'll give what's probably going to be the last word to you on this, given that what we've been hearing from the Trump administration about not having a great desire to get involved in too much in foreign conflicts, his criticism of NATO partners for not doing their contribution as well. How do you see this playing out over the next few months?
Well, I think the Trump administration is very divided on this issue, as it is on many others. But the problem is, I entirely agree, Afghanistan and Pakistan need to sit down together, but the degree of hostility and mistrust is such that they need someone to help them with that dialogue. In the past, there have been 3 countries that have done that: the United States, Great Britain, and Turkey. Right now, the United States doesn't even have ambassadors in either Afghanistan or Pakistan, and has not appointed the basic officials, because President Trump apparently has no respect for diplomacy. The Great Britain is going through an election right now and is pulling out of the EU and is in a political crisis. And Turkey, of course, is completely preoccupied with the war on Syria. Part of the reason I think we may see the situation deteriorating is that those countries that could play a positive role are not doing so.
And on that, we are going to have to leave it. Thanks very much for your time, all three of you. Hassan Khan in Islamabad, Mushtaq, Rahim in Kabul, and Barnett, Rubin joining us from New York. Thanks very much for being on Inside Story. And as always, you can see this program again anytime by visiting our website at jazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle there is at AJ Inside Story. Thanks again for watching. For me, Hazem, Sika, and the whole team here, bye for now.